my most favorite times of the year to fish. You know, it's early fall, and I love to go to the backs of these creeks. You know, you get back up here, you see deer, you see turkeys, you feel secluded back here, and the fishing a lot of times can be phenomenal. You know, we're gonna really focus on laydowns and logs in this creek, but especially in the outside bends. Man, he clobbered that thing. That's a nice one. I like catching ones like that. Come here, buddy. Come here. All right. Ooh, that's a chunk. Look at that fish. Man, that's a good one. What the pull up? I think I got him on that right there. You know, when I'm approaching a creek in the fall, I keep it really simple. There's about 3 baits that I like to use. A BB5, which is just a balsa B crankbait, shallow diving, really comes through cover really great. Laser eye spinnerbait, either a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce model, depending on how deep I'm wanting to get the bait. Chartreuse and white. Then finally, you either need a tube, like this Fiber King tube, or a jig. You can't go wrong either one of those. They're kind of interchangeable, just whatever you have the most confidence in. You know, but the main thing about these creeks is, you know, it's just shallow water fishing. You don't, you know, you're not going to be out there fishing real deep water. You can cover water pretty fast, and you're making pitches to visual targets. And there's just not a lot of people up in there doing that time of year. Most people are deer hunting. It's just a lot of fun to do, and you can catch a lot of big fish doing it. Oh, there's one right there. Man, he got me right at the boat too. Chunky little old bass. His tail's kind of worn off, I guess, from earlier in the spring from spawning. You know, when you're going to be fishing creeks in the fall, you know, one of the main things you'll be fishing are laydowns. And I always want to visualize where I think the best hideout is for a bass on that laydown. A lot of people will approach them and they'll cast all around the perimeters and then make a cast on the inside of it. I tend to be different. I want to put my first cast in the absolute best place, the heart of that laydown on my first presentation. And the reason for that is, you know, a lot of times if you're throwing around the outside edge, you know, you're making that bass aware that somebody's there. Or you might actually, you know, bring it over a branch and shake that laydown, and it just, you're giving awareness to that bass. You know, that a lot of times on that very first flip in the heart of that laydown, it's a reaction strike. It's just one of those things you need to think about when you're approaching laydowns. Pick a specific spot on that laydown where you think the best fish is and put your bait there on the first cast. Man, he came up right on top of the water and got that thing. That was so cool. I was bringing my bait right over the top of that log, and I mean, he just come up on top of the water and just killed it. You know, fishing these creeks and rivers and the tributaries that come into lakes, you know, they can be overwhelming. There's miles and miles of water, and it all looks the same. It all looks really fishy. You can't fish it all, and what I try to do is I try to focus on basically 3 things when I come into a creek. The outside channel bend, the mouths of creeks or ditches that come in, or the upstream and downstream of little islands. Those are what's different in this creek, you know, and that's why I try to focus just in on those areas, you know, to make the most of my time when I'm in here.